Maternity pay or maternity allowance. Hello and welcome to tip number 8 of the Mum's Guide to Money. I'm Charlene Smith and this is a tip that I'm providing each day as part of a series over the next few weeks. So make sure you check back each day to get your maternity leave planning questions answered. So you're in the right place. If you're planning a baby, you're not things cost, what you need to worry about, what the rules are, etc. So I cover loads of different topics that you'll be interested in. You might be expecting already, and if you are, congratulations. I'm guessing you're probably a bit confused about what you should do next. You know that you need to decide when to go on maternity. You need to decide how long to have off, and most importantly, you need to run out of money. So you're in the right place because I say each day I cover a different question, and hopefully some of those will go a long way to answering the questions you've got right now and reducing some of those you've probably got. Now, you might already be on maternity, so it's all a bit of a shock. You kind of didn't really make a plan. You're not quite sure where you all of this stuff is really relevant for you because apart from sort of the when do I go on maternity, most things are very relevant. So what we're covering today, so we're covering maternity pay or maternity allowance. So do I get both? So I'm Charlene Smith and I'm the author of The Mum's Guide to Money. So I started to write my blog in the summer of 2020 when excuse me, I ran out of things to do, and as the winter was approaching I started to write my blog, which just sort of turned into a book over the course of the first half of 2021. So I'm not a medical professional, it's not a medical book, it's all about the financial planning and logistics element of maternity leave. So how much money do I need to save, how much maternity pay will I get, how long should I have for maternity leave, and so on. So maternity pay versus maternity allowance. So maternity pay is what from your employer or where you work when you were on maternity leave. So really important to remember that maternity pay is paid by the employer, so only relevant for those in employment. Excuse me. In the UK, the minimum maternity pay is what we call statutory maternity pay, or SMP. Now, in some organisations, you might be very lucky. So if you work in sort of a government role or ex-local authority, or some of the big corporate organisations, you might have a slightly different maternity package, but at the very minimum you should be getting the equivalent of statutory maternity pay. So unlike maternity leave, there is a minimum qualifying period, and we do cover that in other videos. I think I've covered that possibly in video number 6 or 7, so check out that video if you are looking for the answer to that question. So maternity allowance. So maternity allowance is paid for by the government. So at the time of filming this, it's paid for by the Department of Work and Pensions. And it's for those who don't qualify for maternity pay. So you might be self-employed, unemployed, or if you've recently changed jobs and you don't meet that qualifying criteria with your employer. There are qualifications that you have to meet, so do check the Department of Work and Pensions website. But broadly speaking, you should expect to get a similar amount for maternity allowance as you would for maternity pay. So are you entitled to maternity pay or maternity allowance? So maternity pay is for employed women. So if you don't qualify for maternity pay, because like I say, you have recently changed jobs, so you haven't been there long enough to get it, then you could qualify for maternity allowance. So do I have to qualify for maternity pay? So yes, you do. The qualifying period is actually around 41 weeks, so you need to have been there for 26 weeks, and then there's another 15 weeks before the qualifying week, which is around your due date. So you need to sort of have about 41 weeks of service before your baby is due to qualify for maternity pay. So do I have to qualify for maternity allowance? So if you don't meet the criteria for maternity pay, then get in touch with the Department of Work and Pensions. So look on their website, it will help you work out what your entitlements are. But if you meet all of their criteria, you should expect to be no worse off than what you would have got on statutory maternity pay. So I say they're paid at a similar amount, so make sure you check the Department of Work and Pensions website to confirm what you'll get. But like I say, they should be very similar. So in terms of maternity leave income, that complete picture, so I've covered it in other videos already, just about maternity pay or maternity allowance. So if you are in that situation where you are entitled to maternity pay, and even if you're not entitled to maternity pay, it's still relevant. So look at the annual leave that you've got left before your baby is due. So that's a chance to get some more paid leave in before the baby arrives. While you're on maternity leave, your entitlement to holidays and bank holidays doesn't go away, so check your contract. Again, covered it in much more detail in another video, but that's another way to get some paid leave in while you are away from work. Maternity pay, so if you qualify, that goes obviously for 39 weeks while you are on maternity leave. Any other income you might get from work, so you might be expecting a bonus or sort of other sort of share payments, etc. While you are away on maternity, you can have up to 10 keeping in touch days, so these should be at least paid at minimum wage, so another chance for you to get some income while you're on maternity. Always check what benefits you're entitled to, so even if you don't claim benefits now, it's worth looking into what you might be entitled to. So check out the HMRC website, and it will direct you to the right place to see your benefit calculation. So you might only get the child tax benefit, but that is still, nothing to be sneezed at. And if nothing else, it can pay for your nappies each week. If you don't qualify for maternity pay, as we've talked about already on this video, you should qualify for maternity allowance. So go through the requirements for that and put that into your budget. So what's the benefit of either maternity pay or maternity allowance to me? So they're very similar amounts, as I said, but the rules are quite complex, so make sure you check. But if you're in employment, you've been there at least sort of 3/4 of a year, then you should qualify for maternity pay. So how do I make sure I get all of this right? So I include this in all of my tip videos because it's such an important thing and people don't really think about it. So as soon as you are expecting, discreetly check your HR policies or your contract, make some discreet inquiries to work out if you qualify for maternity pay. So if not, then straight away start to look on the Department of Work and Pensions website and see what you need to do. Don't leave it to the last minute. Make sure you are clear in your own mind which payment you're entitled to. So if your employer is giving you a hard time and they say, oh, well, you don't qualify, but you've been there a few years, well then, I'm sorry, but you do qualify. So stick with it, and if in doubt, check with Citizens Advice or somewhere like that if you need support. So I hope that tip's it's just one of the many questions I answer in my book, The Mum's Guide to Money. So it's a 10-step, very simple process that helps you get your maternity leave budget and plan. As I said before, I'm not a medical professional. I leave that to the people who are much smarter than me. But in the book I talk about how to get your budget together, and it's all very step by step, very straightforward. So at the end of it, you'll have a budget for maternity leave, so pinpointing when you'll run out of money. You'll probably know how long you can afford to have off work. So if you're a bit concerned about that, doing the activities in my book, you should come to an answer in that respect. So how much money do you need to save? So we know that maternity pay will run out after 39 weeks in most cases. So there's a whole just over 3 months when you won't get any money at all. So how much do you need to save to fill that gap? It talks about childcare, it talks about what you need to buy for the baby, it talks about things you can do in the last 3 months to sort of get organised and get ready in your head for the baby's arrival. So available on Amazon. I know lots of people don't like to shop with Amazon, but from a book selling perspective, from somebody like me, it is it's your convenience. So obviously you can buy in the format of your choosing. So £4.99 for the Kindle version, £9.99 for the paperback, and the links in the comments so that you can order your copy. So in addition to that, on my website, I do have a sort of 2 bonuses that are free. As a maternity leave planner. So I mentioned in the book, there's lots of activities, lots of things to do to get all of your information together, all your paperwork together. And this is a place for you to write down what you find out, tick things off as you've done them, etc. So that's free. You download it from my website, you take it away, you print it out, and get planning. Within that planner is a budget and savings calculator, which I'll show you some screenshots on the next slide. Excuse me. So as you can see, you put your information in and it will spit out at the other end when you're going to run out of money, how to categorize up your income and expenses, pinpoint some places you can perhaps save some money that you can put towards your maternity leave savings fund. So in the planner, these are the topics we cover, and these are also the topics we cover in the book. So it gets you to research what your maternity leave rules are, so what's applicable for where you work. It takes you through some activities to work out how long you should have for maternity leave, so with a view that you should be sort of unconfused and perhaps at a decision by the time you get to the end of that chapter. Talks about the usual budgeting stuff, so how much will your income be, how much will your expenses be, and then that all-important question, which is really crucial, how much money do you need to save for maternity leave, and then how you're going to do it. So it helps you break that down into some really achievable savings goals. Then we get on to the fun bit. So this is what do I need to buy for the baby. Now, as a reformed shopaholic, I would have probably once said, let's not bother about everything else and let's just go and buy stuff. But I can promise you, if you rush out and sort of spend a couple of £1,000 on all of the baby gadgets, all the stuff for the nursery, clothes, everything you can think of, and then you sit down to figure out what your maternity pay is going to look like. Statutory maternity pay is around sort of £5,000 to £6,000, depending on what your regular income will be. Because this year it's 150 something pounds a week, which is not a lot. Excuse me. So yeah, if you're spending a couple of £1,000 on sort of kitting out your nursery, buying car seats, buying a nice pram, all that kind of stuff, and then you have a look at your maternity pay, and you realise that you've spent almost that much money just getting set up, and you don't need to do that. So it talks you through ways that you can save some money, only buy what you need, what order should you buy things in, how many of each size, and so on. It talks about your options for returning to work. So should you go back? Should you go back part-time? Can you do it? Can you manage with a baby? All of that kind of stuff. Talks about childcare, so some things you can do to start researching your options, because I'm sure if you live in some certain parts of the country that childcare is in short supply. So it gets you sort of thinking about what you might need to do now to get yourself on a waiting list or whatever it might be. Important one, so how can you sort of maintain a normal life? Excuse me. So it gives you some sort of top tips for sort of keeping sane and keeping things as normal as possible once the baby's here. And then importantly, the last one, so once you're into that sort of got to get organised frame of mind, so lots of things to help you do that, all the lists and planners you can imagine, hospital packing lists, all sorts of stuff for the last trimester, so loads of things to keep you busy. So I hope that's been useful. You can find me in all the usual social media places. So like I say, this is the I think we're on tip number 8 of 30 for the next couple of weeks. So come back tomorrow between sort of 8 and 9 UK time for my next tip. In the meantime, happy maternity leave planning, and make sure you're resting well and putting your feet up. Thank you.